So, welcome back to the Slide Podcast. I am your host, Coach Aaron, and I am joined today with Coach Jen. Ma'am, how are you doing?
I'm hot. I just got back from a walk, and it is 81 degrees in Spartanburg, and it's hot. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
it
I'm
is.
good. How about you?
I think summer's coming. I think it's getting close. So
Fine.
much better than that cold weather we've been having for a while. So,
Agreed.
me, nothing much. Bunch of honeydew lists around the house, and getting ready to fly to Reno tomorrow. So I'm headed out to evaluate and take a look at this All-American tournament from athletics. So
Very cool.
yeah, super excited to go out and watch a little baseball out in Reno this weekend. So,
Sounds
and
amazing.
I'll be back Sunday. So it's going to be a quick turnaround and right back at it. So, but every night this week though, we've spent at the ballpark. So it's been a busy week, and we're in the middle of All Stars right now. So, and I'm going to tell you, for our listeners out there, I think we talked about this before. This is my first time watching my son and not coaching, and it's hard, Jen. It's very hard. Oh my gosh.
How are the rides home different now? Are they better?
Really about, I mean, I try not to really discuss the game too much on the ride home. And if the game is discussed, I try to make him be the one that brings it up. So, because we've changed a lot of that, because this time last year, the rides home were not fun.
Yep.
And through this show and listening to so many of these guests and taking feedback and stuff, I really changed my routine. And so I think it's helping Jace a lot. Like he's really, he's struggled a lot with personal confidence. And that's really like what stuck us, with the guest that we got today joining us, is just trying to get him to have fun, enjoy the game. And I think he's starting to really enjoy the competitive part of the game. And for him, it was fear of failure. And when he did strike out or have a problem, he got upset, and he's learning to manage those emotions a little bit now. So I am super, super proud of him. So
That's awesome.
yeah. Anyway, so let's get to our guest. So Perry Quartuccio.
Nope.
Nope.
There we go. Botched it.
Tucci.
Quartuccio. Perry. Perry Q. Coach Perry.
That's perfect. That's
Perry,
perfect.
man, how are you doing, sir? So we stumbled upon each other on social media, and man, I'm gonna tell you, as I was just discussing about my son, man, you do and spend so much time and energy around helping kids build their confidence, man. Tell us about you, man.
Yeah, it's just it's what I do. I coach baseball. I coach travel baseball. I coached middle school in the last 2 years. And I just feel like it's my duty to do God's work and put out good stuff, whether it's on social media, whether it's when I'm doing business calls, or whether it's just me coaching the kids, just trying to inspire them, empower them, give them any sort of mental skills or tools to help them be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
Not necessarily trying to make a guy a big leaguer, but trying to get the guy to the next level. So any way I can do that, honestly, if I impact one kid a day, I feel like I'm doing my job. So I love what I do. I really do.
That's awesome. So
Thank you for having me on, by the way.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get to this point? So you coach right now, and you're from New Jersey.
Yep.
And so where did this epiphany come from that this was your calling from God?
So I had no intention of being a coach. I played baseball my whole life. I got the opportunity to play in college, Division III level, up north in New Jersey. And I'm about 2 years out of college now, but I didn't play my whole 4 years. Actually, in fact, I didn't even play at all, which is a crazy part of my story. But I struggled a little bit mentally, junior, senior year of high school. I was at a pretty competitive high school, private school, all guy school, really highly ranked in the state. I was really competitive. I took a lot of pride in my work ethic, and then that alone got me my opportunity to play in college. But then when I got to college, I was a pitcher. I'll ask you guys, what's the main job as a pitcher on a basic level?
Get batters out.
How do you do that?
Control the game.
Yeah. I don't know.
Basic. really basic.
Throw strikes.
Throw strikes.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I didn't do my job. I didn't throw strikes. My first outing in college, I literally walked the ballpark, and it was a fall inter squad against our own team, and they put me out there, and I threw 16 balls in a row without throwing a single strike.
Wow.
And obviously, after the second walk, I had a bunch of questions like, "Oh my God, like, how did I get here? How do I deserve to be in college? Like, what am I doing?" I had all these fears and anxieties and stresses, and I didn't know what to do. I self-diagnosed myself with what they call the yips, right? And
Yeah.
it was a mental struggle that I had to go through every single day because clearly I wasn't going to pitch, I wasn't going to get any playing time, but I still had to go out there every single day. And college ball is like a job. I had to go to school. I had to wake up early, go to lifts. I had to go to 4-hour practices. I had to travel with the team. I had to do all of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I had the opportunity to do all of it. However, doing a whole year of that and knowing that I was working my ass off, sorry for my cussing.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
I was working so hard and I knew I wasn't going to play. And that alone was like just a hump that I couldn't get over.
Yeah.
So that year went by. I didn't get any innings. I had fun, right? I had fun in college ball, but it just it wasn't the fun I was anticipating when I was aiming to play there and stuff like that.
Right.
So then I was training for the off season. After that whole season was over, it was a really, really tough go about with the college coaches and stuff. So we ended up our whole coaching staff either quit or resigned, and it was
Oh,
a
wow.
really just the program shifted. So we ended up having like interim college coaches for the fall of my sophomore year, which I was going for. So you know what, fresh blood, I'm feeling good, I'll be fine. And I was decent. I wasn't like the best as I was, and I definitely wasn't the worst as I was. I was throwing strikes like my
Yeah.
fall out. Um, then I remember vividly in winter training my sophomore year, I was working out. I was squatting at with my trainer. And I worked hard. I mean, I squatted a bunch of weight. I deadlifted a bunch of weight is what I took again, what I took pride in. And I remember squatting and I'm like, I turned around to my trainer after my first set and I'm like, yo, I don't want to get better. Like, I don't want to get better anymore. And once I realized I didn't want to get better for baseball, I knew it was kind of my time to hang up the cleats. So I ended up quitting around, I don't know, January, February of my sophomore winter. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to call the new college coach up. He didn't even see me play at all before, but I was like, hey man, I started crying in the car on the phone. So it was a hard conversation. It felt good after, but then sorry, my story is kind of long, but like
No, dude, that's great.
after I quit, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life at all. Like I was going to school for psychology. I didn't know what in psychology or whatever, but I was just taking classes and then COVID hit and that
Mm-hmm.
was even worse for me because I wasn't training, I wasn't working out, so I was gaining weight. I was just honestly just like doing nothing, drinking, playing video games, doing online school. Like it was just a downhill path for me after I quit. Um, and it hit me because I was like, all right, what I got to do something. I got to do something with my life. And I remember my one class I took, it was a sports psychology class my sophomore year in the fall. And he would always motivate us every single day. And he'd be like, you can do something extraordinary with your life. And it was like an 8 a.m. class. I was like, dude, shut up. What are you talking about? And he was like, you can write a book, you could break a world record, all this stuff. And like each day when I did show up, I was like, you know what? This guy's kind of right. You can do whatever you want in this life. And I ended up getting inspired after I was kind of going on this downhill path to write a book on baseball. So it took me about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months to finish a book and publish it in a 3 to 4 month span. So my life went full on like you're a loser path to hey, you're doing something really incredible with your life. And so what the long story short of it is I wrote the book and I put together this book of baseball, my experiences and reaching out to all these professional players and coaches. And it was just an amazing experience. My network obviously grew.
Yeah.
I got better at just speaking over, calls like this. Cause I mean, I was a nervous wreck 3 years ago, but,
Right.
and so that happened and I wrote the book. And then throughout the book writing process, I fell in love and obsessed even more with the mental game, more so than I ever thought, because one of the people that I reached out with was a he is a mental performance coach for the Cleveland Guardians, the Indians at the time. And just so happens that same guy that I reached out to, that Indians coach, was a former student at my college and had the same exact professor that inspired me to write the book, that inspired him to get into the field of mental performance. So it was just like a click. So I looked at him as a mentor. He gave me, he was like, I was like, I want to do what you do, bro. I was like, straight up, I want to do what you do. He's like, okay, you're gonna read this, you're gonna reach out to this person, you're gonna drop that psych program, you're gonna try to go to grad school, all this stuff. He had me on the right path. I was learning everything possible. And again, he was my mentor, so I did everything he told me. And then I had another.
What was the name of your book that you wrote?
Reaching Home Plate.
Okay.
In-depth guide on getting recruited, achieving mastery, and conquering adversity. I think I just flipped the words, but one of those.
Yeah.
And it was, and that, yeah, again, that changed my life. But then when I was learning more about the mental game, I was like, okay, I want to start applying what I'm learning to just life. Like, what do I do? I wasn't coaching at the time still. So I reached out to another mentor who's with the Tampa Bay Rays, the mental performance coordinator. And I was like, dude, I'm learning all this stuff. Help me. What do I do? And he goes, dude, go to Facebook groups and just say you'll talk for free about the mental game. I had no idea what I was talking about. I got a bunch of hits, not 15, like 5 to 10 hits of places and teams, travel teams, little league teams to come for me to speak for like before their practice, 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So it was kind of around like when the pandemic was on its way out, or just people were like okay with it in the summer.
Becoming immune to it, yeah.
Yeah. So I was speaking, and if I remember the first 2 times I spoke, guys, like I was stuttering every word. I was shaking. I had no idea what I was talking about, but it was free. Like, it was an experience for me. So I was grinding that out for a little bit. And now going to the coaching side, the one team that I crushed it. I absolutely crushed it, was a 12U districts team. And then one of the coaches, the assistant coaches, he's like, hey, dude, I run a baseball academy out of here. Do you want to come coach? So I was like, yeah, I'm in. So that's kind of how I started coaching. I've been there ever since.
Yeah.
And I've definitely grown as a coach and as a person, as a business person within those 3 years of being where I'm at. So that's like a really long story of how I got to where I am, but that's how I got here.
That's awesome. No,
Yeah.
I think I've had a similar journey. I'm a little bit older, of course, than you are. So my passion growing up was to play baseball. Like through school, through high school. My goal was to be an MLB player like most kids. And I couldn't take the pressure. Once I got into the high school level, external things played a role into some of the stuff. But honestly, I got so frustrated with myself. I didn't have any confidence in myself. And I viewed myself as, I was the worst player on the team. And reality says it wasn't the case. And I was actually one of the good players, but I quit myself. And, and I've had the fortune enough to I've got 2 sons. I've been able to coach, with both of those kids growing up. And last year when we started this show, I was like, I really didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I knew I didn't want to retire doing what I was doing. And like you, I think I felt something. I felt God saying, like, this is what you're meant to do. Maybe not so much as in the podcast world, but helping kids, in the same ways, that the things that I needed along the way, like I can see it now with kids. And you really gravitate. Honestly, you can give me a room full of kids and I'll be happier than I had a room full of adults. So I get along with kids so much better than I do adults in most cases.
Yeah. I've seen that for sure.
Yeah.
Perry, what would you say, like to a kid who was your age or definitely even younger than you at the time when you made that decision to step away from baseball? Had that thought crossed your mind before and you just kind of put it down? Was there other people out there saying, no, you got to stick with it, you got to go? Like, tell me a little bit more about that process, because I think there's some shame associated for some kids. Like, that's their identity. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves.
I think it honestly comes from just a really good support system. My parents have been super supportive of me my entire career. So, and obviously my life, but it's I knew it was kind of going to be heartbreaking for my dad, if I, were to leave when I left, but they were super supportive of me, and I mean, I can't even, it's like a blur to me, like when I quit. But if you have a good support system, and in some cases it's not parents for some kids, unfortunately,
Yeah.
just having somebody, I think leaning on somebody that supports you and loves you, to depend, not like with regardless of the decision that you make. So
Yeah.
I mean, I had a couple people in my life where it was obviously my parents, and I had like two or three like really close home friends that were like, you know what, dude, if you think it's the right thing to do, then do it. And I was at a point where I didn't really care about what other people had to say.
Yeah.
That's another piece of it too. When
Mhm.
you're, I mean, I think that's true for anything in life. If you can just have 2 to 5 like people that you can lean on, and everybody else, like, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever other people say, it shouldn't affect you.
Right.
Kids are a little bit different, like the high school age and middle school age is a little bit different. They care about everything and what everyone has to say. But when you can really just like block out the non-supporters, and I don't want to say non-supporters, but the people who know you, your values, and what what you're really like passionate about, or care for you like on a deeper level, then I think that's what it's all about. So I would just say to younger people who may be feeling the same way and don't want to get the shame or the guilt out of it, is lean on the people that support you the most, and that's it. And that's the only thing you have to focus on. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think, what would you say? Like Jen said something right there, is a lot of kids growing up, like they don't know anything other than baseball. And sometimes their play their parents are living vicariously through them in some
Oh,
cases, and so baseball becomes what is their identity. And I noticed one thing that you said is the amount of pressure that you felt relieved when you made that decision.
yeah.
Like, I mean, what would you say to the parents that are really focused, driven on getting their kid on every single team possible? Like, what would you say to them?
I mean, at the end of the day, they're human beings. That's what I would say. Like, whatever sport you play, it's not who you are, it's what you do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the people who deal with that the most is the big leaguers, because it's like they get paid to be a baseball player,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have, we don't see the other side of it. And
Right.
being friends with other professional players is like they have a family, they have other things to worry about, they have other things to do and take care of. And it's just a totally different perspective switch. I think for parents, just have a little bit more of a perspective. And listen, it's easy for me to say, right? Because I'm not a parent. I have no idea what that's like. I've heard so many, dads that I look up to, and my dad included, where they always say they'll do anything for their kid. They'll do anything for
Mm-hmm.
like I can't say from that end I get that. Like I do, but like I don't, because I'm not a father. But
Yeah.
um, I would just say, like, what did I just say? I lost my train of thought. I
No,
said,
you're good. Well, and I think it's, allow the kids to really build their own identity through themselves and not through a game, and let them live their lives. And
yeah.
honestly, at the end of the day, they should, if they're not having fun on the baseball field, they need to just come off the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that I see, and I think that just puts some of the kids, you said something else earlier. Some kids don't have, their parents aren't their go-to. Sometimes it is the coach.
Yeah.
And again, the role of a coach is super important to me. So,
And you
but
said, Perry, that I'm sorry, go ahead,
no, go
Aaron.
ahead. Nope, go ahead.
You're a middle school coach, is that what you said, Perry?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a tough age group for an adult to deal with, and as well as certainly the kids going through, hormones and emotions. And I think that at that age, you either really grasp onto baseball or you go the opposite direction. So do you incorporate any of your psychology schooling in with your coaching as far as like the mental aspect of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a part of just how I coach, my coaching style, and the conversations that I have with the kids. I don't like have a set plan of like mental skills that I'll give the kids, and just like, kind of work them through. It's more like just having the whole mental skill stuff is, and psychology is, you have to understand, you have to seek to understand and not to be understood. So
There you
like
go.
Yeah.
you can, yeah, it's a great bar. It's if you can understand an athlete, because a lot of, right? A lot of coaches will just judge a book by its cover, and oh, you're not playing, you're not trying hard enough, like you're going through the motions. Okay, you can say that, sure. That's what like an old school coach would say. But like how I would approach it is, why is he acting lazy? Why is he going through the motions? Why does he look like he's not giving 100%? So I'll probably pull a kid to the side and be like, hey, dude, you good? Like, what's up? And they'll tell me, and listen, sometimes they're not open with me, but what I love to do is build relationships, trust, and rapport with the kids first before I even do anything. Because when I have their trust, when I have their rapport, it's an open conversation. It's an open relationship.
Yeah.
They don't feel threatened. Yeah.
Exactly. So they'll be open. More kids they gravitate towards me and opening up because I allow them to be.
Right.
And when you allow them to be, now you can understand. So, for example, that one kid that's going through the motions, not giving 100%, maybe had a horrible day with it. Maybe his mom and dad just went through a divorce. Like I don't know.
Right.
Like maybe something crazy happened and we can't but we're gonna yell at the kid because he's not trying hard. Like sure, maybe initially you can yell at him, but like bring him in, have a conversation. Like, yo, what's up? Because if something's up, you got to let us know. But if not, you have to give 100%. It's kind of like a tough love, but like let me know what's up first, kind of thing.
Well, and that's when you start to really coach the kid, is when they trust you and they let their guard down, then they'll listen when you say, hey, adjust your swing this way. Hey, when you're fielding a ground ball, like there's so much more that comes with that trust and that relationship with that player. And that doesn't mean, you're spending hours upon hours with a player. It's just when you get that time, do you open the door for them to get to know you as well?
Absolutely. I always say this in every presentation or every speech or every podcast that I'm ever on. I always say, like, kids don't care about what coaches know. They care about whether or not you care about them. So like
Right.
You see it all the time where, former pro player or former, professional college stud is a coach now. Like he just newly coach. And while on the perception of it, the parents see, oh wow, he has a lot of experience in pro ball. He knows the game ins and outs of it. Yeah, he has the knowledge of the game, but does he have the awareness and the knowledge to just be a coach? Like it's
It's a skill set.
It's 100%. It's 100% a skill set. So, now listen, you could be a knowledgeable dude, like a former pro guy, and be really good with kids. But and usually where you see that is when those former pro guys become like dads, and that's when you see like that switch. But that's just kind of what I say too. You have to show them that you care first before you even say, hey, because for me, I don't have a good pedigree. Like I didn't pitch in college, so it's like, why would I trust this guy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I love just building trust and rapport.
That's same with me. I mean, now so Jen, she was a college softball player, so she's got some pedigree. But different, like for myself, like I didn't play in college. But you know what? I still feel, and I have learned, and my confidence has grown in myself to know that I don't necessarily need that pedigree to relate to that kid and to be able to help that kid become a better person, on and off the field. And I think too many times, and especially we spend, a lot of our time focusing on the 14 and unders. And, you see it really at an early age. You start seeing the stress and anxiety, with kids. I saw it with my son at, age 4, age 5. I mean, he was his own worst enemy and probably got that a lot from my genetics, unfortunately, but he's working to overcome that. But there's so many kids out there that need a coach, that need someone just to be able to talk to and, be silly with and have fun. What you like being a coach? So are you the stand-up motivational speaker guy now as a coach?
No, I mean, it's different. It depends on the kids in the age group that I'm working with.
Yeah.
The younger guys, I would say, like, I have a lot of younger lessons, younger guys. So from 8 to 10, I'll be super, motivational, insightful, and giving them positive feedback. For the older guys, the oldest I work with is like 15, 16.
Okay.
It's a little different. It's less like motivationally cliche stuff, but it's more individual. Hey, you guys, or I'll have a conversation. It's more conversational based opposed to giving them a motivational moment.
Yeah.
It depends. It's all about, what does a kid need in the moment. for example, what I'll do for the older guys, or I guess the younger guys too, on a mound visit, say a pitcher's just kind of not having it or whatever, I'll go to the mound, and the first thing I'll do is touch his heart. And if you can feel and hear and like it's, I know what to say in that moment. But if he's like kind of just, it's hot, he's kind of like whatever, going through the motions, then it's a different conversation. But the 9 times out of 10, it's more like it's beating all the time. So it's just different. It's just finding a way to calm them down and ground them. But I'm not really a motivational coach. Only with the younger guys. Yeah,
Okay.
only with the younger guys. Totally different than my videos, but the videos are a little bit tailored for that aspect.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you definitely got a pretty big following on Instagram. How did that start? And by the way, I love your posts. Because honestly, I think I'm gonna put them in my routine of just things to listen and watch on a daily basis. So tell us how that started.
I appreciate that. It was probably like right around the same time I was doing the book. I had a TikTok. I have more followers on my TikTok because the I had one video. I had no intention again to make videos and do content or whatever, but it took one video of me just talking with my face on the camera. I had no plan. I have no script, which I usually never do. I just talk, and one video like blew up, and it wasn't the fact that it blew up that got me, but it was like the comments that I was reading. It was the messages I was receiving, and that was the reason why. That's still the reason why I continue to do it, because if it's just so liberating to see these people like see these kids be impacted by my 60 seconds of whatever I have to say. So I had, I don't know, I had 1,000 followers on TikTok, and then that one video blew up. I went to like 12,000 in like one video. And then I did more of those style videos. And then I think 2 years ago, I started doing like the voicemails and stuff. But this is all on TikTok and Instagram. You say I have a big following on Instagram. Like this has only happened, it's like of recent, in the last probably 5 to 6 months, because on Instagram, when I wrote the book, I keep track of all my analytics, so I know it like from the back of my head. I had 1,800 when I wrote the book 3 years ago. And then I got to, I don't know, probably 5,000 last year.
Okay.
And that from 5,000 to 10,000 was the longest like 5,000 followers I ever received in my life. And the same videos I would post on TikTok wouldn't do as good as I did on Instagram. But I made like one minor switch to like how I posted videos on Instagram. And that's when I started to see like the followers and the people come and the comments.
What was the switch?
The secret.
Is it a secret?
I mean, no, it's not a secret. It's
I'm still learning. I'm still the TikTok. I hadn't figured out yet.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird. I could talk about it even off the pod. Like I could talk about it all day because it's so intriguing. But so TikTok, it'd be this, dude, it made no sense. I would post the same video on TikTok to Instagram. TikTok would get 1 million views, Instagram would get 1,000. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is not adding up. So the switch was I started uploading my Instagram videos using this app called SnapTik, which basically takes your TikTok video and puts it on Instagram. So like TikTok text, like all my Instagrams are TikTok text, they're not Instagram text. And you would think it's the opposite, right? If I'm posting on Instagram, I'll put the Instagram text, I put Instagram captions, all that good stuff. But for some reason on my end, I don't know for other people that have tried this before, it's just TikTok text. So if you see in the videos, this is like another heads up. If I'm talking and I record on TikTok, I post it onto Instagram with SnapTik. It's like a slight millisecond delay. So if I say like something like verbalize that and you can see my mouth moving, it's a little bit delayed of what's actually coming out of my mouth on the video.
Okay.
That's like one downfall of it, but no one really pays attention to it. If it has value, if it's entertaining, people are going to watch it anyway.
Right.
But once I started doing that a couple months ago, that's when I started seeing numbers of what my TikTok was doing. It's not the same, but it's getting there for sure.
Gotcha. And so what's a lot of the feedback that you've gotten since you've posted these videos and stuff? Like are people really hearing your message, you think?
Yeah, that's the blessing is I read the comments, not all of them, because I don't have the notifications on, but the messages, I read every single one of them.
Mhm.
And I remember this one time I did a voicemail and I got a message of saying, it was a kid saying, it's my screensaver on my phone. It was, Coach Perry, your video, my mom just passed away. She just committed suicide, and my friend wants to commit suicide too. And listening to your video and watching your video made my day better. And I'm
Wow.
like, and like on a deep level, I'm like, dude, this is why, like, I don't care if we get a million views at all. Like, if I can do that to one kid every single day, regardless of the views, I'm going to continue to do so.
Yeah.
Right. So that is the literally only reason why I do it, Now, granted, on the other end am I trying to build a business? Absolutely. But that's the bigger part of it. That's the
Yeah.
impact that I know I can make. And that's why I get fired up when I make them. Because
Yeah.
that's like, you can't, I don't know how you can get that anywhere else.
Yeah. You can't. There is no other satisfaction. No, giving a gift like that to someone, like that's that's life changing. So, and
Mhm.
I got cold chills hearing you talk about it. So that's pretty
I, I
freaking
get
awesome.
I get chills every time I open my phone up, man. That's why I do it.
Dude, I sit and I scroll usually, and I'm a motivational quote kind of person. I love to listen to Denzel Washington. I love to listen to a lot of these guys
Denzel's good.
that just
Denzel's good.
brings that energy. And Denzel is like, I was in a job interview last year, and they asked me what books do I read, motivational books, and I'm like, have you ever listened to Denzel Washington talk? And they were like, what? And I'm like, have you ever heard him like speak?
He's the
And
best speaker.
dude, he can take a bad day and turn it into a good day very quick. He'll wake you up.
Uh-huh.
And like I love people like that. And that's so when I got to your stuff, I'm like, this dude is doing it with baseball.
Yeah.
And so and I think, we hear a lot more about mental health these days, and I think it's a great thing. I see sometimes where people are doing it just to check the boxes, but I think the overall just the awareness is continuing to grow. And I think my point of view from our show is like we got to pay attention to the kids. Like,
Mhm.
and I've said this so many times, instead of sitting around waiting for the guys and ladies in Washington, D.C. to really try to help our kids, we need to get involved.
Yeah.
And I think that means at an early age, and with teachers and educators, is helping build these kids the confidence, because everything around them is made to tear them down. And I see kids struggle. I see my daughter, she's 16. Social media is not meant to build your self-esteem. It's meant to tear it down, and in most cases. And it's I can't imagine going through life right now with some of the things these kids have to deal with. And
Mhm.
then thinking about a kid up to bat, and like what you're saying, you don't know what those kids are going through, and they have so much going on in their little minds. And how they're able to process it all is pretty remarkable. But it's pretty freaking awesome, man. I
Yeah,
love
I,
it.
I I appreciate that, and you guys are doing an awesome thing too.
Yeah.
Coach Jen, you have kids and
I
okay.
do.
And
So interesting story about my 10-year-old. He's, I mean, well, he doesn't play anymore. So he was like a B ball player, really good, lots of potential, but just didn't have the work ethic to get better. And that's really, I don't know, this is going to sound like I'm putting him down, but I'm not. He has that a lot. Like his personality is kind of just like, I'm okay being like a little better than average.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
And so
he's got a laid back personality. He's
he's
chill.
very laid back. He's just like doesn't let a whole lot of stuff get to him. So to put the work in to be a better ball player just wasn't there. So we made the decision last year about this time. I had he'd gone through rec ball and then made a travel team locally. And of course I was tickled. I was like, yes, I'm that baseball mom. I can't wait to get up at 6 o'clock on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're
then
crazy.
it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that that he just wasn't loving it. So kudos to the coach at the time. He felt that about 2 or 3 different kids on the team, and we had a parent meeting, and he was like, if this message is for you parents, if your kid doesn't ask when's the next practice, can we go outside and throw?
Hmm.
When can I hit off the tee? Then they might not be made for travel ball, and that's okay. And so I was looking at Colton the whole time, and he's kind of like, looking down, and I was like, dude, he's talking to you. Like, it's okay. You don't have to be out here kicking your butt 2 or 3 times a week and then playing all weekend. We have a pool. It's hot in the summertime. He wants to be playing with his friends in the pool, and that is totally fine.
Yeah.
So I also have a 5-year-old girl. And so I've dedicated myself to not burning her out. She's going to choose when she plays. I coach her as well. I coached Colton through 8U until he moved on to travel ball. And I coach her, and I'm not going to be as hard on her at all. And it's not because she's a girl. It's because of what happened with Colton.
A little
But
bit of learning experience. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally. So I hope that she loves the game as much as I do, but we'll see. She's got a natural left-handed swing. She's a lefty, and so I'm like, yes. Left-handed pitcher, left-handed pitcher. Come on. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. She's young, and but again, like now Colton's in flag football and he loves it. And so he's still in sports. He's very athletic, very smart. So, baseball wasn't his thing, and that's totally fine, but we're still going to be active and do things outside.
Hey, Jen, Perry asked, where did you play?
Oh, I played at Gardner Webb. It's a small D1 school right outside of like Charlotte, kind of.
Yep. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, she was a catcher.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We have this run of like very few people that's been on the show haven't been catchers. It seems like we've had more catchers on than any other position. So
really,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
it's a cool stat is, I mean, it's not a stat, it's just an observation that a lot of Major League Baseball managers are catchers. And because the idea is catchers, they see the whole field and they're basically their own mental skills coach to the pitcher, and they have a relationship that they have to have trust and rapport. So it's like not managers, catchers see everything and have to know everything in order to operate and perform at the best level. So it's just kind of cool to see. If you see like major leaguers that are managers, like they're probably a catcher, most of them.
Yeah,
I think you gotta look it up. You gotta look. Yeah, catchers know everything.
That's interesting. Well, to me, they're like the field general. Like they're the ones that's really leading the group. I mean, I don't know if baseball you can really put the quarterback position on it too much outside of maybe being the pitcher. But the catcher, man, the catcher control, like you said, sets the tempo, sets the tone.
One of my buddies, he's a catcher for the Angels, Logan O'Hoppe. He actually got hurt. He tore his labrum in the beginning of the year. But he was telling us in spring training, like the stuff that he does, and he was talking about it when we were in Arizona, we were eating dinner, and the way he talks about like what he has to know, what he has to do, and the intricacy of every little detail that no other regular fan or person will ever know is incredible. It was so mind-blowing that I was like, whoa. Like I have such a huge respect for not just like catchers, but just big leaguers in general. Cause you get the traditional, oh, they get paid all this money, they should do this, they should do that. But like they're for the most part, for most of them, their work and what they have to do and know is unmatched. And it's totally professional. And they deserve, I don't know if I would say they deserve every like $1 million that they get, but like they deserve a lot. They do a lot of work.
They do. I mean, they have a lot of responsibility, and they have a bad month. They have, a bad run, that could be the end of that major league career. So there's pressure on, outside of the living legends like the Albert Pujols and Yachty's that just retired. I mean, like, I don't know that they ever felt that, but, I would say the pressure to be an MLB player, that's a hard game. Baseball to me is got to be the hardest game out there. And everybody, it's I hear it from everyone is baseball is a game of failure. We've said it here so much, and if you don't love the game, and even thinking back to Colton, like you got to love the game to go through the failure of this game. And and that's what young kids don't understand is as they progress through the the ranks of baseball, it gets harder every little step. And if you don't love that game, you're not going to want to play that game as it gets harder.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost sickening and like psychotic when you really think about it. Like you love playing a sport where you fail a majority of the time. Like that's borderline psychotic. Like why would you love playing a sport that you fail a lot? But
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it too. Like that makes every single success and every single hit like more meaningful because you there's a chance that you're probably going to fail, most of the time, especially as you get older and level up a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's so cool. But that's why I love it. I love seeing kids fail. I really do. And that's crazy to say. I love seeing kids fail because I like seeing them bounce back. I love the bounce back story.
Well, and there's so much to be learned from each situation. So if you think if there's runners on first and second and 2 outs, you're thinking a different pitch than you would be if you're the first batter up, 0-0 count. So everybody's like, "Oh, baseball is boring." Well, no, it's really not because that ball could take a hop. Yeah, I mean that ball could take a hop. There's so many decisions to be made in the middle of each game. And if you think about, if a center fielder missed pop flies as much as some of these wide receivers miss balls on the sidelines, like they would be fired in a second.
Yeah.
So you're held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. You can't compare, of course, like
but some people don't get
baseball,
it.
But
some people don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some sports are built and set up for failure, and then some are just, you only talk about the highlights. And that's where people, I think, like you said, Jen, baseball is boring. It's just, there's just so much to the game. And I think there's so much about life in the game of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kids learn a lot, like what you said, Perry, when you see a kid fail, like how they bounce back from that failure. That's how they're going to bounce back from it, as they get older. Absolutely. And having a good coach, having a good support system around them, makes them okay to make a mistake. They're okay making a mistake because they know they got someone around them that's going to put an arm around them probably when they need it. So,
So amen to that.
I saw some of your videos. You're out at the park, you're talking to kids.
Yeah.
What's different, would you say, but the difference that you've seen between rec ball and travel ball from the New Jersey area?
It's a great question. My first gut answer is just the parents on it. Like the parents are crazier on the travel level. We train a lot of the young travel teams, like they train with us in the winter and stuff. And it's just, I think it's harming the game more than it's helping.
I agree.
Harming the game in terms of the kids. Like I started travel ball probably a little bit too early, but I started when I was like 10 or 11. But these kids are starting at 7 and 8. And they lose love because they lose love for the game because they're either not being coached the right way, which is like 70% of it. But the other percentage is it's hard to love a game when you're 7 and 8 when there's so much pressure already because you have to succeed. Like the tryout structure that these kids have at 7 and 8 and even 9 is unbelievable. Like it drives me nuts when parents or coaches write like a whole, what's it called? A whole like thing about the kid, like how they did their skills.
Resume.
Like, what are we judging 8-year-olds for? They're not even fully developed into like what they're going to be.
Yeah.
Not even as an athlete, but as like a kid, like premature. Right. Like, what are we? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I would say that's like the biggest part. Now the guys, when I talk on the videos to the kids that are, upper 12, 13, 14, I will say the kids they're fantastic and they're raised the right way. And the answers that they give me too are just like when I ask kids questions, the answers that they give me are just incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine like being interviewed by somebody like myself when I was 14 or 15. That's why like the whole social media thing it's totally different and made kids different. Like kids want to be in the video as opposed to like if I saw it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing it. But in terms of like travel ball, kids are great when they're older, but the 7, 8, it's ruining the game because they're ruining their love for it. They don't have the ability to learn when they're failing and being criticized every time.
That's right. Yep. Well, because when you enter the travel game world, that's competitive. And people are expecting W's and and you can't do a lot of development when the pressure's on for a win and loss record.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. I think 70%, shoot, that maybe even be
That's
a generous number.
Generous.
Yeah. Like, and unfortunately, I think society, we set some of these coaches up to be we set coaches up to be failures because we're not teaching these coaches the right way to do things. Everything's a volunteer in most cases when it comes to the rec ball and even some of the travel ball, that coaches aren't getting paid. But, as the coaches, parents ask me all the time, and I get on these tangents. Parents ask us all the time, when do I go travel ball? And I was like, well, first of all, when you go travel ball, do you got the right coach? Like, it can't be Coach Daddy. Like, it can't be Daddy Ball. And no. I'm sure you've never heard of that term before, right? Daddy Ball.
Never in my life. I don't even know what Daddy Ball is.
I'll tell you about that later after the show. But like, that's where I'm seeing most of the mistakes come up, is we're starting to see all of these just random teams start up, but they're not started with the right intention. They're not started with build a foundation for the kids and then make this organization or make this team something that people view as like they making these kids better. Yeah. And, I had a coach, I had a conversation with a coach the other day, and I was like, look, my number one, my goal for you is when I give you my son to coach, I want you to make sure he's a little bit better than what he was before he got here. And let's just focus on that. And I don't know. That's what I can ask for any coach, man. Just focus on the kids. Don't focus on the win-loss record. I was never a coach. I don't know about you, Jen. Did you ask the score of the game during the game?
Did I ask the score of the game? Like to the
like in the game? Are you? Yeah. See, I never asked.
I knew it.
Oh, see,
I just kept up with it. Yeah.
See, I didn't do it. I try never to know the score because I don't want to coach different. And because I feel like there's so many coaches I see, we get into the last inning and we're up by 3 runs and we're telling the kids, we got to hold them to 3 runs. Like, I don't want them thinking that. I just want them to go out and play ball, because now I'm giving them something else that's layered on top of that pressure that they already feel. Like, just to go out and let them have fun. If we score, if they win, they win. And I get frustrated, Perry, a lot when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Trust me, I do too. I'm assuming we're on the same wave with that. But yeah, I get heated. But I'm not gonna get heated today. I'm not
We'll appreciate it. I'm not gonna give you anything to get heated about, I don't think. But but man, I think the world needs us, man. The world needs more people like us adding positivity, energy into the youth. And whether it's youth flag football, basketball, baseball, the kids need more attention. And I think what you're doing is pretty freaking remarkable, man. So
I appreciate that. To you. It means the world. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you guys for having me. This has been a blast. This has been an absolute blast. I'm sure we'll have conversations outside of the pod too. But thank you again. I really do appreciate it.
Well, I think we'd definitely love, any of the guests that come on the show, we invite them back, for different situations, different guests. I think it'd be really cool to have you back, Jen. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, we've had several that are sports psychologists of some kind. I wonder if we could do like a panel. We have Mental Game Academy. And then I feel like there was one more in there.
I had Jake Van Wert on 2 days ago. He's out of Indianapolis. He runs a program up there. And so, but it's continuing to grow. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think something we could maybe ask our listeners would be to submit some questions if they have a kid that's maybe struggling, just some questions that we maybe haven't covered yet that they want to have answered. Y'all come back on and do something like that.
Yeah, Perry, we've gotten some pretty awesome feedback. And, you talk about, your comments and stuff is we've had parents reach out to us and really tell us that, they're listening to us as to how to, help their kids through the process of rec ball and so on. And so, we feel a little pressure too of always making sure to provide the right information. And
absolutely,
look, I try not to be biased. I always, we always state our opinions on the show, but we're not experts. But hearing someone like yourself talk about this, man, it's pretty awesome. And I hope people are listening. And just because you got 4 kids and all 4 kids play baseball, that doesn't mean they're all going to be MLB players. So having realistic expectations for your kids.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, have fun. Like
That's
the
it.
game's too
That's
the
just,
game's
it's
too
just the
hard
game.
not to have fun. Well, hey,
Amen.
we wouldn't want to keep you and tie you up any longer, but we got one last question that we ask all of our guests, Perry. And
Yeah.
this is a big one, and it usually stumps most people. But you walking up to bat today, what's your walkout song?
I've been rocking with some Morgan Wallen recently.
Okay,
So
I can get down with some Morgan. All right, which one?
something on his new album. Oh, I've been loving the song. I don't know if you guys heard it. It's called Outlook by Morgan.
Yes. Yep.
Oh God.
His
That was
sister sings on that with him.
yes,
I'm
yes.
the book liner guy. I read all the notes and everything. I love music, so
Yeah,
uh,
that for me, I think I would go up to that. I mean, in high school when I hit, it was like Kanye West Power or something like that. But I mean, now I'm a totally different person. I would definitely do Outlook for sure.
awesome.
Yeah. Shout out
We've
Morgan
had
Wallen.
I think we've had Morgan Wallen a couple times on the show, so
Yeah.
he's a I'm a huge Morgan Wallen fan. Are you a Hardy fan too?
Um, I love unapologetically country. Wait, what's that called?
Yes.
Country as hell. And
Yes.
then a rock is just phenomenal.
You've heard his last album, Mockingbird.
No,
Oh,
I haven't yet.
dude, I'm gonna tell you, he's got some good songs. So, like, he's got a song with Morgan Wallen.
Yes.
And but man, there's a couple songs on there, and I love a good storyteller, and that's what Morgan Wallen does. Is he can tell a story, and you can feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, everything.
Yeah. Hardy does a good job of storytelling, and so does Zach Bryan does a really good job of storytelling.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're those three, like I know like they're totally different. Like Morgan's kind of that hip hop ish country sometimes, and sometimes like regular country, but Zach Bryan's totally just country.
Yep.
But like the way they tell when music makes you feel when it provokes a certain emotion out of you and you can understand it and feel it, it's like, yeah, that's what a good song is supposed to do. Not just like it's more than just like the melody and like the vibe of it. It's
Yep.
like when you can provoke an emotion out of it, yeah, I love that.
Yep. I'm gonna tell you, man, between music and baseball, that was my childhood. And to me, those two just go together. I mean, I when I'm out in the field and I start to say out in the field with my son, but when I'm out in the yard with my son, like we mix music in with practice. We do different things. Like we try to keep things with a rhythm. And I think baseball's played with rhythm. So
Absolutely.
I think music's pretty important. So, but anyway, man, hey, thank you so much for hopping on with us. Jen, thank you for hopping on as well in the middle of your work day. So,
Absolutely.
Perry, the last thing that we do on the show is it was a Jen and I thing, and we turned it over to our guest last time. So I say at the end of the show, until next time. And then what I'd love for you to say is we'll catch you on the slide.
Perfect.
Got it? All
Yeah.
right. For all of our listeners out there, again, we say this every show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Please share, leave us some feedback, some comments, leave us a review. We appreciate you very much. But until next time,
We'll catch you on the slide.
there we go.